is Frank's show, Frank Duffy Show. Special guest, man. Had him on in the previous show on Sidelines this morning on the Roundtable. Ron Higgins, one of the best sports writers, wittiest guys you'll find anywhere in America. He'll make sense out of a lot of stuff. Frank, I'll go ahead and let you get started with the questions because, folks, get your notebooks handy because you're going to want to take notes here.
Well, Rob, we got to start off with our traditional welcome to the 16th Gold to Go show, baby. That's right. And by the way, we normally will pick a Tiger great that had that number. There's not a lot of great Tigers that ever wore 16, really, in any sport. I mean, kind of Craig Knoll's all I got, right? So yeah. We're gonna bypass. I think of the 16s, Ron. There's really not a 16 out there. Craig Knoll, a backup quarterback is really all I got. But hey, I love having Ron on here with us as a guest. Ron literally grew up under stately oaks and broad magnolias, with his dad at LSU all those years, and of course being a great sports writer. So having you on, Ron, we love this and our 16th show. By the way, this was the show that did bring the Lane Kiffin news first to the entire United States. I had it because we knew that his young son was already enrolled in school. We had it 3 weeks before we went public with it. The folks in Florida, what were they telling about us, Rob? Brendan and all his buddies, y'all are insane. He's gone to Florida, but we had it. So, Ron, I want to start out by asking you, what are some of your greatest memories before we get into the Lane Kiffin mania that's going on right now and this incredible transfer portal? We picked up 41 players that, again, by my news, is about $40 million in salary. But can you talk about just growing up and being a writer? What are your best memories of LSU sports?
God, there's so many. The first LSU game I ever saw when I was a kid, it was only 5-0 game I've ever seen. LSU beat TCU 5-0. It's only 5-0 game I've ever seen. My first game I ever saw in football. Got so many games. I worked in sports information as a student assistant. And then Charlie Mack's last couple of years. Yep. Charlie McClellan was just a gem of a human being. Mispronounced everybody's name. Charles Alexander was, hey, Charles Alexandria fella.
Called everybody buddy. Hey, buddy. How you doing, buddy?
After an Ole Miss game where Burt Jones didn't throw the ball very well, because he thought the balls were overinflated, Mack says, hey, fella, old Bart had a tough day. This might blew Bart's balls up. Then he goes, wait a second, fellas, kind of rework that for me.
That had to be a little emotional, though, his last year in 79, going to the Tangerine Bowl, being carried off by John Ed Laborde and a lot of those Tigers.
Yeah, he got fired because he was loyal to his assistants. He didn't want to fire assistants. They wanted to get rid of him. And that's Mack. He wasn't going to get rid of people who had been around him forever. And then again, just a good guy. LSU usually was one of the better teams in the league when he was in there. Unfortunately, Bear Bryant was in the league at that time, and when the LSU two of LSU's best teams beat Bear Bryant in 69 and 70, and then Bear decided to go to the Wishbone and had his second life. But that, growing up in Pete Maravich era, seen every game Pete Maravich ever played, people don't understand how ridiculous it was to watch Pete Maravich average 44.2 points a game. And the ball handling and passing, I always tell kids, go Google, go to YouTube and watch him, okay?
People talk about records that'll never be broken. That is a record in college basketball.
42 never be broken.
Never ever be broken. Ron, you'll get a kick out of this. I actually was managing Doc's in '86 before I opened up Duffy's across from Mike Anderson's over on Lee. Yeah. I was in the bar business, and we found the old Cow Palace floor that LSU had donated to a high school. Wow. And it wound up in a barn in Clinton, Louisiana, right outside of Baton Rouge. Really? We went and got it. It was under a tarp, and that's what we made the bar at Doc's out of. And I remember before we poured the resin, I got a brass plaque and put on there the floor in which Pete Maravich averaged 44.2 points a game, a record which will never. It's literally on the plaque underneath the resin. I said I feel pretty comfortable. This could go from time immemorial. This will never be topped. So he was amazing. He was a showman.
That's a hell of a deal. And then the LSU's baseball program with Skip got there, and I'll credit Skip and Ron Polk for changing the whole dynamic of SEC baseball. SEC baseball used to be played in witness protection, basically bad stadiums. I remember covering a game at Ole Miss before they had their stadium now, and it was like they had their bleachers were old football practice field bleachers with wooden splinters all over the place. That was and Ron Poe came in the state and changed that. Skip came in and took it to another level. ADs figured out they could make money playing baseball in the SEC if you do it right, and that's where they are now. And LSU, again, probably does have the best baseball coach in the nation, and Jay Johnson, and already won two national championships in the time he's been here, like 3 or 4 years, and it's just been ridiculous. He's that good.
And you got to give Woody the credit for that. I mean, that was a
I miss Scott Woodward. He was a great athletic director.
Great guy.
Hired Jay Johnson, got Tim Mulkey, who was this lights out coach who I love being around. My favorite people. Tells like
and Ron, he could eclipse Skip honestly before it's all over. And Skip is the GOAT. Look, I remember hearing from my good friend Richard Lipsey the stories of when Skip came in from Miami and basically made a home at LSU. I see Jay Johnson having almost that same sort of trajectory, now having won 2 national championships. And I missed it last year because I had some other issues. But the one 3 years ago, I was at every pitch out in Omaha. And I've been to every national championship. The only one I missed was 58, a couple of years before I was born. But even the LSU football championships, in my opinion, don't hold a candle to what it's like going out to Omaha. That feeling of going through that almost baton death march of games to get and to win it all. And when we won against Florida that Monday night, that was an accomplishment as a fan, as an LSU fan, that was even greater than winning in 03, 07, and 2019, in my opinion. What are your feelings of LSU baseball? As you see, I got my Tiger World Series shirt on.
I think it's probably the best it's ever been. This guy's a great coach. He lives and breathes baseball. He's a really good combination of analytics and personal touch, looking at guys doing what they can and can't do. Tremendous recruiter. Those fits pieces really well. Even when they're missing pieces, they really have good chances to advance in playoffs. Last year, when they, basically went through the preliminary rounds of the World Series and won every game, I knew they were going to win the championship. So they'd never done that before. I think Skip maybe had done it once, maybe. I can't remember. But yeah, they're in good hands. So LSU athletics is overall in pretty good shape, and now they got Kiffin. It's really going to get wild. It's been wild already. It's going to get more wild.
Kiffin mania. Rob?
Yeah. Well, I was going to say about Lane Kiffin. Ron, we talked about it on the earlier show this morning, Sidelines, on the round table. The high school recruiting, Louisiana's got just over 5 million people. Per capita, I think it's Mobile, Baton Rouge, and Detroit City have produced more NFL players than anywhere. And LSU often does go into Mobile and Baldwin County. Jamarcus Russell from Williamson High School. They've done it plenty. Bay Minette, they get players out of there. Talk about, before you have to, I know you've got to get an appointment, but the Kiffin mania and his statewide, how he's being received compared, say, to previous coaches.
I mean, they love this guy because he's all over the place. I think, he's the new breed of coach who connects through social media. So he recruits to different age brackets. He's just everywhere, it seems like. He tweets every morning when he gets to work. It's 5 o'clock in the morning. He's all encompassing, and LSU fans like that. And I think, and the fact, look, he's been able to get guys out of the portal from Hawaii to everywhere because they know who this guy is. And a lot of these guys have been recruited by him before. I mean, have a connection to him who didn't sign him before and then go back and go and get him. So, yeah, it's been pretty wild. And I think I know he's got 41 in the portal and it looks like he's finished, but I don't know if he's finished yet. I don't know if he's finished. He's going to keep coming. So
might have Seton. Look, he has not committed yet. It's between us, Oregon, and Miami. And Lane Kiffin got on a plane and flew to Atlanta after Seton left just to go get some more FaceTime with him. And to your point, he tweeted when he got back to Baton Rouge on the private plane, 2:00 in the morning, he was still working.
Yeah.
I mean, that's incredible. And look, Rod, you would probably agree with me. What is the one word that describes our state of Louisiana better than anything? It's passion. Yeah. Passion is what Louisiana is about everything, about life, about food, about music. And the one thing that Lane Kiffin has that I don't think the predecessor had was a passion for being a coach in college football. He eats, drinks, and sleeps this stuff. And in fact, I don't even know when the guy does sleep. And that is going to be an appreciation. Look, we might not win them all. He better hit the ground running, and we better have success because there'll be a short leash. But as long as you're seeing the type of effort that he's doing, he's fine by us. And look, we're embracing the villain role. I mean, we were made for this. And I joked about it on the earlier show. I'm shocked the two of us hadn't found each other before this. Look, we're LSU. We're the school that when I was leaving Thompson Bowling Arena, or as Joe Dean, you say, Thompson Bowling Arena, string music here in
string music,
Tennessee. And, I was leaving the game when Shaq and Stanley Roberts and Chris Jackson were playing Lethal Weapon 3, Georgia Tech, and we unfortunately lost. We were up 25-4. Could have gone on and won the whole damn thing. Finally cut down the nets for LSU that Dale Brown and my good buddy John Brady got close to but never got. But as I'm leaving Thompson Bowling, I see these two guys walking down, and they have nondescript shirts on. And I overhear one of them going, if LSU was playing the Russians, I think I'd cheer for the Russians. And we're cool with that. I mean, we're so different, so unique. We don't care. And look, to my Ole Miss friends, I understand your pain. We've experienced that with Nick Saban. It is not fun. It is but it's a long process, guys. They're Ole Miss people right now are burning themselves like the third rocket booster, as we're sending Apollo 11 up into space. So, but Ron, you're in Baton Rouge, right? You're there now. Okay. I go back a ton to New Orleans and to Baton Rouge. What is the feel? Because I know how I'm feeling. What is the feel and the vibe in the city when you go to Phil's Oyster Bar or go to Mike Anderson's? What is the feeling right now? The excitement. I don't think I can ever remember any more excitement at LSU sports than right now.
Well, I'm gonna answer this and get out of here. I gotta get out of here. I go to Phil's almost every week, and it's like, you see who Kiffin signed today? You see who he got last night? Holy crap! That's the feel. Okay, that's the feel. And now I'm gonna go to my rehab for my hip, and I'm gonna get the same thing. There's this Ole Miss guy who works here. He goes, "Who else is he gonna take from us?" I said, "Well, whoever he wants."
Hey, if he comes out with some contraption to spread those hips, you better lay off because he's gonna do it with a little gusto.
Guys, we'll do this again, man. I gotta go.
Thank you, Ron.
Ron, thank you so much, man. One of the best.
Pleasure talking to you,
Ron Higgins. And Frank, you're right. I mean, it's the passion, and you can't be great at anything unless you are passionate about it. Because hard work, it works, and it's interesting. The flip. So much more high school versus
we talked about that.
You made a great point a few weeks ago on our shows. It was Sidelines or this show about Lane Kiffin's not going to put $25 or $30 million worth of high school talent on the bench and pay for it to develop. He'd rather go get stuff that's already been given a test run and pay for that.
Well, I think it's gonna recalibrate. So right now, 60 to 70% is brought in by the portal. That's been Lane's MO. And look, it was the MO for Brian Kelly at LSU. Look, we had the best portal class, even better than Lane's last year. We didn't do anything with it. He didn't develop them, and the guys that we did bring in, underperformed. But I think what you're going to find Lane doing, and look, Ron brought it up in the show before. Yesterday, Lane and the entire LSU coaching staff, I mean, all of them, the plates at the supper, at the Baton Rouge Supper Club hadn't even been cleared yet from their celebration of celebrating the best portal class, 41 portal transfers. 2 of the top 5 were still in the running for the 3rd of the top 5 that we would get if Seton comes, the big offensive tackle from Colorado, who still hasn't committed. They were not even done celebrating that. And then the next morning, they're in New Orleans. They're in parts west. They're all over the state because he understands the power of Louisiana recruiting. Because look, what's the old saying? It's better to get a fresh apple from the tree than one that's been in the barrel sitting for about a year or two. And I think he's still going to work the portal. We still have the money that we can work with that. But if you can get that kid who he wants the bag, but he also wants that purple and gold on his back. The kid that's grown up dreaming of playing at LSU might not cost as much as the kid that we get in the portal from Arizona. And that's what Kiffin understands. There's going to be a value play. Look, you're a financial advisor, Rob. You understand a value purchase, value stocks.
Yep.
You want to get them as little as you can so that it makes your ROI much better. Well, he understands that. And look, no offense to my friends in Mississippi, you don't have the fertile ground that we have in Louisiana. And he's no dummy. The guy's smart. I think he's the best offensive mind that's out there. Clearly, he has proven he's the transfer portal king, and he is willing to work it. Rob, there's not been a morning, early morning, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning, that Lane's not tweeting, rolling up in Tiger Stadium. And like I said, he flew back from Atlanta on a 2 o'clock flight after having the kid Seton in Baton Rouge for a day and a half, 2 days. As soon as he found out Dan Lanning was waiting for him in Atlanta, he got on the plane and went. So, look, LSU's people, like I said, we have a passion for our sports. We have a passion for our state. And look, that's what also was causing the governor to get involved as well. Look, I mean, we can't help it. We are who we are, right? Yeah. When the music starts playing, we start dancing. It doesn't matter if it's a funeral, parade, whatever. And it's that same all-in feeling that look, he's not going to win them all. We might not get the kid Seton, but I've seen the work that he's put into it. Mm-hmm. And I'm telling you, that will buy him a lot of gravitas. And to Brad Bellamy's part, I get it. He's never, ever truly won anything on a championship level. That, my friend, is going to change because we're committed. When we lost Bryce Underwood, and that collective then swelled with the amount of money. That's how we got all those defensive players, Rob. We wouldn't have had them had Bryce Underwood stayed. But it got all the money off the sideline. So you're going to outspend us? No. We're crazy enough. We'll throw money in. And by the way, that's how we got this portal class. Because the collective couldn't go out and spend it last year because it came in too late because Underwood ditched us a week before signing day. He ditched us in November. Yeah. So you couldn't spend the collective after that. So it got to go on this year's. So not only do we get the rev share, which started this past summer, but we had this big war chest. That's how we got 41 players in the transfer portal, 2 of the top 5, maybe 3 of the top 5.
Well, if you look at the portal, Lane Kiffin also flew up to Knoxville. We talked about it on the show this week. This is really, really we don't see this out of coaches. I mean, he is not going to get outworked by somebody in recruiting somebody. That's hard to overcome if you're not that passionate about it. And they've got the money. They've told him basically everything you want. So he's set up for success. And you can't be a pro type coach in college You got to go. And this stuff's all going to work itself out. I mean, look, you're not going to be successful at LSU if you don't relate to the people. And them going down into New Orleans and shaking hands and just seeing people going to every corner of the state and in the middle. And that's Louisiana's a lot of states in one state. They're south of I-10. You get out toward Texas, they think they're in Texas. But I think Lane Kiffin, you'll have a roster with the most dominant players from the state of Louisiana, and then they'll start from there. And then because LSU right now has the third most starts in the NFL, their players in the last 10 years of any school in America. It's all there waiting for you.
To who's who. He went into Brother Martin, a kind of a smaller of the Catholic schools yesterday, and went after the number one wide receiver recruit who's already committed to Texas. Got the kid to sit there with his picture with Lane at Brother Martin with his Brother Martin sweatshirt on, go Crusaders, with the L up. Look, I'm telling you, the guy's not taking no for an answer.
No.
Okay? I mean, look, everybody's in play. And look, we know this. We've talked about this with Doug.
Yeah.
You got to recruit not only after you get them, it's recruiting 365. You got to recruit your own guys more than you're recruiting theirs.
Yes.
And winning cures everything.
It does.
And you saw that with Ole Miss. You saw what he did in 6 years. Ole Miss was a dumpster fire when he got there. It really was.
It was.
They even what Cutcliffe had built, it had regressed. Our good friend Houston Nutt had great success, but it had regressed. Yeah. And he comes in and builds that. Look, if you can do it at Ole Miss, you can do it anywhere in the Southeastern Conference.
Yeah.
And by the commitment of the big money donors, all the way up to the governor's mansion. Look, they had the kids seating at the governor's mansion. I mean, he got a tour of the people's house here. I mean, look, I'm telling you right now, when we did the Kelly hire, we were kind of all whistling past the graveyard. I will admit, I thought the guy was going to do well, but it's a different animal here. Because he gets us. Kelly's first step was to come and be grandstanding at the basketball game and come out with a fake Southern accent. By the way, he didn't even pick the right accent to try and fake. Most of us have a Brooklynese accent, not a Southern accent.
Yeah.
Lane Kiffin didn't come. He didn't show up to a basketball game until 2 weeks in when finally, they brought him to a women's game. Mulkey forced him to come in. It was the night that Ole Miss was going to be playing in the Sugar Bowl.
That's right.
They finally forced him to come in to the game. You know why? Because he was working the transfer portal. He was working the recruits.
Yep.
Look, he gets it. He gets us. We're hardworking. We have a flair for life, and that's exactly what this guy is. And I'm telling you, like I told Brad earlier, I will bet you he is beyond 2030 LSU. Because I think romantically, he sees what Nick Saban built from 2000 to 2005. What could have happened with Nick Saban at LSU had he stayed that entire time? Could it have been more than Alabama's 6? Because you and I both know y'all beat them 6 in a row. Remember the one for the thumb?
Yeah.
Y'all beat Alabama 6 in a row. We beat them 5 in a row. You don't have that run. What could Nick Saban do? Well, I think Lane Kiffin is curious to find out what does a Nick Saban 2.0 at LSU with the passion, with the money, with the resources, with the fact that we have no natural competitor, no natural adversary in our own state. Let's see what that can do. Yeah. I think he's there after 2030, but we'll find out.
Yeah, and we'll wrap it up here in a second. That you look at the portal, putting money into players that can produce immediately. That's what he's going to do. And the high school kids in Louisiana, they're so talented, and there's so many of them. If you can just keep the overwhelming majority of the in-state players, that works itself out.
Give me 8 of the top 10.
Yeah.
Give me 8 of the top 10, keep them in, and you work the portal, we should be in every college football playoff discussion.
Yeah, and you don't have to overpay to keep the in-state kids because there's a lot of pride and that LSU
They'll
brand.
take a purple deduction, Rob.
Yeah.
They will.
You get an in-state discount. You absolutely do. And look, basketball, it's a struggle, and not just at LSU, but across the SEC this year. I'm just going to say that LSU football, the sense of urgency that you did not have with Brian Kelly, it's there with Lane Kiffin. So send us off with a positive note, and the folks at Acme Oyster Bar and Felix's down in the quarter, get them excited. Get the
I'll
servers
give you a
excited.
positive note. My RV Bengal One has already got diesel in it, and if I'm not going back to Omaha, and as you know, I do my announcing at Cacti Park in Palm Beach. I'm going to be down there doing the Astros games this year, and I'm going to be doing the Nationals games. I'm going to be announcing all the spring training. I can tell you, if the diesel isn't used up on that trip, I got enough in reserve to get me to Baton Rouge for when Clemson comes to town.
Yes.
For when the circuit, when him coming out of that tunnel, Rob, we're known for our seismograph readings from the Auburn LSU game of 1988, and when Garth Brooks came in and did Calling Baton Rouge in a concert where there was 120,000 Tiger fans in because they could fill them in on the floor of the stadium. That might be the biggest eruption that Death Valley has ever seen.
Yeah.
Off the charts.
Yeah.
And look, and if that isn't it, Rob, guess what? 2 weeks later, guess where we're going?
Oxford, Mississippi.
Yeah. I'm going to need Trump's F-20 escorts. I'm going to need some fighter pilots to get Bengal One through Mississippi airspace.
They'll be about as glad to see you as in-state Arkansas hunters on a public WMA for the out-of-state license plates. They love to push your car into the river, Hey, Frank, this is awesome stuff. Thanks for letting me be on here with you. Great stuff, folks. Stay tuned to this channel for executive producer Brendan Martin and our great guest, Ron Higgins, man. Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend. And share, like, and subscribe. Appreciate it.
Go Tigers. Happy Carnival, everybody.
Go Tigers.